All right, thank you for joining. Today I wanted to go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin, Avalanche, Cardano, Ethereum, and I'll probably take a look at some meme coins as well, like Myro, Kakenu, a few other interesting meme coins, Bonk. So thank you for joining. I'm going to go ahead and wait for some people to come on in here. But in the meanwhile, let's go ahead and just take a look at Bitcoin. As you can see on the all-time chart, which I like to look at it on, let's see here, Poloniex, right? They have one of the best histories. I think BitMEX has a pretty big one too, but you know, Poloniex goes back pretty far, right? February 2015, whereas BitMEX, where is it? Or is it Bitstamp? Maybe Bitstamp. No, it's not. Maybe it's USD. And Bitfinex is pretty old too, but good. There we go. I guess Bitfinex is the winner. But anyway, as you can see with Bitcoin, if I go to the monthly, this was a major resistance, right? Major resistance. Price rallied up, touched it, and now it seems like this is where we will get that retracement. All right. Massive resistance. There's the top. Price obviously wicked right above it and grabbed a little bit of liquidity. If you even put it on the monthly close, I'll show there was a lot of action around there. Let's go ahead and get to it. As you can see, the high wicked above it. Monthly close, price came down, tested it a few times, and then failed and moved a little bit lower. So where can I see Bitcoin drop off to now, right? Let's see. Give me 1 minute here. Okay. So if we go ahead and we zoom out, let's take a look at Bitcoin in a higher time frame. You know, I'm sure you could go ahead and pull some fibs from the high to the low. You'll see it came up, tapped the golden pocket exactly. And where is that? Just like we saw before, if I go to the weekly, right at that top. All right, can make that a little bit brighter. Right at the top, you have the golden pocket. So a swing failure at the high, and to be honest, in my opinion, I can see it making a pretty big move down to the next major resistance or support. It could move down to here, but let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, it does seem, it's funny how that lines up, right? So that does seem like a very solid area where I could see price come down to. And keep in mind, there's still a CME gap open at basically 40,000, right? 39.5 CME gap still open. So I think now is where, that's where price is targeting. Yeah, so most likely will come down. Might even wick past it. I wouldn't be surprised if it wicked past this trend line. filled the gap, came back up, found a little support, and then continued a little bit higher, right? So that's pretty much exactly where I would expect price to go. Fill the gap, because usually they do get filled, right? There's a gap here. You can see price legit came up, filled the gap, sold off again. Let's see if we can find a few more. A little gap here, price came down, filled it pretty much right away, and impulsed higher. Tiny gap, still got filled. All of these gaps seem to just get filled, right? And besides this one, so this one has not been filled yet. Around 20,000. Do I think it's going to get filled? Probably not, the way how everything's going right now. The ETFs, the halving coming soon. This is very unlikely to get filled, but even this one got filled, right? So this is a gap, came up, price came down, filled the gap, impulsed higher. So this being a pretty close gap, I would expect it to be filled, right? That one was right around 39.5. I think what we were looking at before was a little bit lower. So if I would go back to that chart, right, I think it was on Bitfinex. That one's around 35, and that's just the, it's just me pulling fibs just to see what's going to happen here. I mean, that is a support and resistance level, as you can see, right? Resistance, 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 flipped it, support, support, impulse higher. So this is still a very valid level. But yeah, I think for now, price is most likely going to fill that gap around 39.5. It seems most likely. This is also a pretty big support as well. I mean, resistance and support, right? So if price does come down, I would actually expect it to fill the gap, 39.5. It might wick a little bit lower, like I said before. It might even tap here, because this is a pretty big support level. As you can see, this is clearly support, right? Price cannot close above it for basically 21 days. Like, price just cannot close above it, right? If we go ahead and pull that, 22 days. So for 22 days, price cannot close above this level, and that's at, where are we at? 38,000, right? So this is a very big support level, just to keep in mind. Obviously, this is a nice little range that Bitcoin was doing right here. If we really want to start drawing some ranges, right? Just to keep things very simple without using too many tools, just looking at the support and resistance levels. So this is a very, very nice range, right? As you can see. Price impulsed above it, tried to stay above, even back tested it as support. If I go ahead and zoom into the lower time frames here, came above it, failed it, came back below, came above it again, tapped the level. And to be honest, if you really want to see something too as well, if we go ahead and zoom out, right, and I pull the fib, it might be a little bit different color on the Bitfinex chart, but if I pull the fib of these highs, what's happened? If I pull the fib of these highs, so on this one, it's a little bit different, right? At this one, the point of control is down here. But let me just go and show you this on the Bybit chart. Look where the point of control is. Point of control right there, right around the same high, right? Now, obviously, it's a lot more messy here because I've been doing a lot of charting, but you have the point of control, you have the high. Like I said, if we go ahead and pull the fibs from the high to the low, you have the golden pocket right there impulsed into. So this level is insanely important, right? There's a lot. And there's the yearly close is also right there. So you have the yearly close, point of control, range high, and golden pocket, right? So major resistance. Very important. Obviously, price came down, wicked through a whole bunch of levels that I was keeping an eye on. There's a few local levels here too as well. As you can see, we have a nice little range forming here that formed, right? And we have the point of control value area low, which price came down to. It's pretty much low, right below the value area. I mean, the point of control. I did pull this fib from the lows to the highs, but then price looks like it did wick higher. So now it's below the fib, right? So the fib acts as support and resistance, right? Very important support level now turned into a very important resistance level. So what can we expect, right? So just looking at this, it does look a little confusing, but usually price tries to grind down a little bit more to fill the wick after a massive sell-off, kind of like this, tried to, and then, you know, buyers came in and pushed the price higher. Happened here as well. Came down, price hovered a little bit, but then it came back down trying to fill the wick, but buyers came in before it got too low, right? So going back to where we are now, we would need to flip this level here, 43,000 into support. So I wouldn't really consider support unless it's trading above the point of control, which is right here of the previous range. So we do want something like this to happen, right? Price to hold, flip this into support as well, and then gains acceptance back into this range right here, right? Because this previous range value area low is very important. So we want price to flip that into support, and then we can see it going back, tackling the yearly close, point of control, and possibly sweeping these highs. But for now, there's much of a trade to be had. You can technically put in a short position here since this is clearly resistance, right? You had price come here, found a bottom, bounced a little bit, failed through, now it's resistance. So you can put a little scalp short if you really want to be an aggressive short trader today, because the value area low is sitting about 2.5% away, which is not too bad, right? Not too bad in gains. All right, so let's go back to that chart I was on just to show things a little bit more simplified. I'm not even sure why I'm on Bitfinex. I legit never ever go on Bitfinex. I guess just because it had the history, and then now I'm here charting it. It's always good to chart on what you do use to trade, right? So right now I am using Binance and Femex, but the thing is, Bybit does have a lot more accurate data, in my opinion. But yeah, look at how, let's just keep things very simple, right? Like, just to take a quick look at this chart, right? Look at this. Clear support resistance here. This is a range, right? This range right here, though, is like basically almost just like an untraded, untested range, right? Like, this is just like no man's land. If price comes in here, it's most likely just going to try to either get accepted into here or try to find its way back up to here. This is almost just like a deviation zone, right? There's nothing really going on here. Price obviously deviated above here, these highs, for a little bit. Go ahead, delete. That's not really necessary. But it did the same thing here. Came above. But now it looks like price is going right back into this range, right? Not looks, it is right back into the range. So just keeping an eye on Bitcoin, how simple it is really to trade when looking at it this way. Right now, most traders are not looking to trade this, right? This is not really a good place to trade. You could zoom in, like I said, and possibly do a couple scalp trades if you know, mark your levels, right? Here's a level. Technically, this is a level as well. You can just trade this throughout the weekend. It's going to be low volume. But if you do trade it, this is pretty much what you're looking at. Short. You have a daily point of control here. Short to the low, short to the value area low. That's basically your only trade. You know, if you get a little move, maybe just move your entry, your stop to entry, just so this way if you do get stopped out, it doesn't matter. You just wait for price to do its thing. But you know, it's basically 1% moves all weekend. Price comes up here, flips that support, you go long and wait for price to tackle the next high, right? If price fails this level, you know where to look for next. Short it down to the major support. And yes, you know, this is support as well, but it's so little that I wouldn't really, there's gonna be liquidity here, but not really much. Where's my volume indicator? Oh, there it is. All right. Yeah, so there we had big spike in volume, right? So it's kind of important. Yeah, maybe price will respect here a little bit. I mean, at this point, this is just a swing failure pattern. If you want to take that trade, but the best trade, in my opinion, will be down at these levels, right? So price comes down, sweeps these lows, sweep these lows, sweep these lows. Swing failure, the low gets reclaimed and then continues to push a little bit higher, right? So pretty much something like this. Price comes down, sweeps the liquidity, and tries to impulse higher. And then right here is where you'd want to enter you'd want to enter a long right here, right? So that's the area to long. And then short, same thing. You know, this is obviously still a major resistance, very important resistance. So you want to see price move a little higher, sweep the highs. There's not much really to sweep, right? Liquidity is basically gone, but if anything, test the highs, get rejected. But in this case, you'd want it to really test the highs, get rejected, price to come back, sweep those highs, and enter a short to go lower. It's 10%. This is a 10% range, right? 10% range. All right, so that's pretty much it with Bitcoin. Just keeping it very simple. There's not really much to really talk about. I mean, this just keeps it as simple as possible. Looking at it in a range like this is basically the best way to chart if you're a beginner trader. Just start with ranges. It keeps things very simple. It shows you where you should buy or sell. Don't FOMO in, because as you can see, a lot of people that bought here thinking price is going to go crazy are now underwater, right? So just be patient, plan your trades, know your trades, and most importantly, know your risk tolerance, right? You want to make sure that you trade with the right risk management, right? Don't risk more than, worst case scenario, 2% of your portfolio. This is basically turning into an order block right here. This is actually very, very interesting on the 4 hour. It's a 4 hour order block. So this is very interesting. As you can see, there's an order block here too, right? So it's happening here. Price loves order blocks because that's a lot of volume being generated. All right, so go ahead and pull the fixed range of this whole entire thing. The value area low right down there. There is a lot of volume though being generated here, as you can see by these little spikes in volume. But yeah. Let's go back here. Yep, drew this trend line on Coinbase. It's respected it again. And it's now moving higher. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Drew this a little while back. But yeah, same thing here. You know, I have this range mapped out. Price has obviously respected it. And that's really where my trades are. I mean, this is not a bad area. As you can see, maybe price, I'll consider a long if price really comes down and, you know, taps this 786 and diagonal trend line. Would be nice if it swept this low first and then came back up. That would be a nice little long entry right there. But I'd really be interested if price fails these levels, sweeps the liquidity of these lows, comes back up, retests this low, and then moves higher, right? Like, even if it goes higher and just back tests this as resistance, I mean, you're still talking a 6% gain, right? But just keep it very simple. I mean, look at Bitcoin. It's just range bound. It tried to impulse higher. It tapped a few very important levels, and now it's back within this range, right? So the market makers know what they're doing. If you see it came down, touched a 50% mark right here, right? And now it's just staying right above the 50%. Order block coming in on the 4-hour. This is just like a very strange level. I wouldn't even think to trade it, to be honest. You want to see price try to move in a certain direction, but if you really wanted to trade it, like I said, just zoom in. It has formed a range, right? Just trade this channel. Just trade this channel. That's it. Like I said before, here is your support, turn to resistance. And here is the bottom of the local trend. And here's the high, right? So you have 3 levels to really play with. Like I said, if you really want to be aggressive, you take the short, you have 1%. Stop loss above this little high. If price goes up, you could do the same thing, right? You could trade here, go long, 2%. Put your sell at the top. The way how this is playing out, this is going to be the trade for the whole weekend. I don't really see price doing anything. It might deviate out of this level a little bit. It might come down, like I said, touch this trend line, which has been respected before, come back up, whatever it is. But I don't really think you're going to get too much action this weekend. But if you really want to trade, then, you know, that's the way how I would do it. And as you can see, I mean, look at this. It's crazy. That's all price has been doing. Is this one going to do the opposite again? Come right back down? If so, there's a 1.5% trade for you. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at Litecoin. Good morning, sir. Not Litecoin, my bad. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Good morning, good morning. Any coins you want me to chart? I got about 20 more minutes here before I gotta end the stream, but if there's a coin you want me to chart, just drop it in the chat. Don't forget to hit that like button. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at ETH for a little bit here. I'm actually gonna look at it on Bybit just to see. Where is it? All right, there it is. Just a cleaner chart just to start from. Let's just see what I charted out before. So ETH, it's above the range still. Whoa, I don't really know what happened here. Delete that. Where did I get this from? Let me see something here. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Let's go ahead and delete this. And we'll delete that. But Ethereum, on the other hand, you know, there is a monthly level here. It's monthly close, right? Little swing failure at the top. ETH does seem like it has room to grow. I mean, there's not much resistance. It stopped right here at this monthly open, right? Pretty much to the dollar. If it does manage to push above this level, and this isn't even like a really, really important level, but it was important enough to stop it for now. But just in a higher time frame, I mean, if it does push above that, then yeah, I mean, 3,300 is the next target, right? Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. I don't really like this level, to be honest. Let me see what the daily looks like. What just happened? Let's go ahead and delete these brush tools. Okay, so even on the dailies, where you can see there was a lot of action going on at that level, right? So that was the monthly close. As you can see, that was support, basically the last important support before price collapsed, and that is a pretty key support level. As you can see, price came right up to it and then got rejected. So in a way, this is almost like a top. You know, this is the bottom. I mean, this is the top as well. So this is a range right here. This is pretty much a range, right? Like, as you can see, this is another range. It's basically an undeveloped range, which we're in right now, but the way how things look, and look at that. You know, I did draw this out, forget how long ago, but there you go. Price went right up to that level. Yeah. So Ugas, not sure if I'm saying your name correctly, but yeah, is there any coins? Drop a coin in there you want me to chart. I'll chart it up. Ethereum, on the other hand, let's see. Where would I be looking for a trade with this? Let me go ahead and delete this too. So as of right now, if you go from this pivot down here, price has tapped the 786 and it's now trading above the golden pocket. In a way, this is also another range. This was a range before price collapsed, right? So if you want to go ahead and just draw that out, then you also have the high up here. All right, so that's that. Then we do have a little low down here too as well. I mean, this was resistance, flipped it into support. It found support at this high, this little pivot high. So we'll put that there, kind of important. And then yeah, I mean, if you really just wanted to delete this for now, just so you can see, this is pretty much the range to be trading in, all right? Let's just keep things simple. That is the range to be trading in for Ethereum right now. If we go ahead and go to the daily close here, daily open here. Let me just see something. Then let's zoom back in. See how price has respected these levels. This is on tap, so this is like an on tap daily. Just keep that there. Technically untapped as well, even though price came down, but yeah. Between the daily opens and close, this is another range. But as you can see, price has really reacted off these levels. So here, like I said, just like Bitcoin, you can look for a short, an aggressive short if you really want to. Stop loss, maybe above that wick high. You want to keep it very tight, you know, in validation. Because right now what's happening is there's probably a swing failure pattern happening, right? Even if we zoom in, as you can see, swing failure pattern is happening. So price came up, took the liquidity out of these two highs, and is now moving lower. So this is a swing failure pattern. This is a setup. This is a trade setup. So this would not be a bad time to, but like I said, you see how close it is to the value area high? It's not good. So you really want to get in almost at the exact time that price failed that high. Because if you did that, to the point of control, almost 1%, but to the bottom of this daily close, which is where price is probably going to go, you're talking 2%, right? Which is actually a pretty decent move. And then to the bottom of the channel, if you really want to go all the way down, that's 5%. So you have a nice, interesting range to trade. And yeah, I would actually, I think this is actually a very interesting level. Swept these highs, swept these locals highs. Now it looks like it wants to come down, right? Now it looks like it wants to come down. And this is on the 30. 30 is a pretty important time frame. Yeah, so that's pretty much it with ETH right now. I mean, if you go to some higher time frames, if we look at things, there's not really much to say. I mean, it might come back down to 2,400. If it does come back down to 2,400, this is a very important channel that it was trading in before, as you can see. Then you can trade this range right here, right? This is a range just like before, right? This is a range. And this is a range. Or you can go ahead and trade the entire range, right? Do what you want. But right now, this is also a range. So you can trade this whole range. I would think price came down, tapped here as support. So, but this is still the range, right? This was obviously the range from the previous range. So you can trade things down to this level, but you can definitely take most of your profit here if you take a scalp short. But yeah, that's really the best thing to do for Ethereum is just wait. It's in a nice, interesting range, to be honest. And a short here would not be a bad idea. There is a trade set up there, as I pointed out before. And you have a 3% move to the bottom, as long as it could go below this daily close. All right, so next let's go ahead and take a look at Avalanche. Right. So Avalanche is also very interesting right now. Let me go ahead and, as you can see, it's failed this trend line, failing this trend line. It broke out of this downtrend, but it looks like the downtrend isn't really holding much. It back tested it, kind of back tested it, not really. But typically once trend lines are broken, price tends to move in the opposite direction. What happened here, right? So after the trend line broke, had a 1% move up, not that much, right? Really not that much. But right now, this is clearly just a very choppy area. This is, the resistance is at the daily value area high. Support is at the daily value area low. This was kind of important. I think I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. Not that important anymore. But let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. Let's take a look. So here, actually I don't know why. Let's go ahead and put this right there. Boom. Still, let me go ahead and hide this. The volume profile is there. This was pulled from the low. I'm not sure why I put it there. Why was that there? Maybe from the 4 hour. Alright, so a little off, but I think here, this little pivot before the impulse makes more sense, as you can see. So yeah, price came out, tapped the golden pocket, exactly, swept the low as well, grabbed some liquidity and impulsed higher. So this would have been a great trade, but Now let's not talk about the past. Let's see what we have coming up. So right now, let me go ahead and even get rid of this trend line, which was broken through. This one as well. It's just a little bit cleaner chart. So right now, with Avalanche, we are at the value area low, which obviously is a very important area to long, as you can see. As long as you use your stop loss, because look, if you were to try to long it around here, you'd have gotten stopped out, right? But yeah, it's not a bad area to long. Whoever longed on the retest there is now currently up 3%. And as we all know, price likes to go back to the point of control. So if you're in that trade, a 13% gain is on the table. So right now, let's go ahead and see what else we got going on here. It's kind of lining up with that. Let's just see where some of the daily levels are. There is a daily close right here, untapped daily close right at that level, right at the point of control, which is very interesting. This already been tapped, as you can see. Daily close has came down and tapped it. Price is moving a little higher. It came down and tapped this one too as well, so not as important. This one is pretty much right there. I don't know if this was tapped, but see, close is 41.94. The high was 41.85. So never got tapped yet, but I don't really like this. I'd rather look for something a little bit better. But one thing good about this is, as you can see, there's a daily high here, and there is a golden pocket here, and the value area high is here. So this level is now pretty interesting in terms of a swing failure pattern. So to keep an eye out on this level for price to come up, sweep the highs, get rejected, and come back down. All right, so that move right there, if we get this to play out as a short in the future, that's 8%. If we come back down to these levels, I mean, you could put a line here, just reminding you that it is a daily level as well. But at the same time, too, it is also the value area low. And then same thing with up here. It's the value area high. All right, so we have daily value area low at this level, pretty important. Yeah, it's just a better area to really enter another long. As you can see, price came down. Let me even just put this back in, right? So as you can see, price came down, tested the value area low, tested a daily, and reacted quite nicely. So this is where I would look for another long entry, is to see price come back down, sweep these lows, reclaim the value area low, show a little bit of change in market structure, and then enter the long position around here. Stop loss below the new low. And that would be a pretty solid entry, in my opinion. Let me get rid of this. I don't want this up there. But yeah, this is a range on its own right here. This, as you can see, is a clear range. Price is trading right there, right above the 50% mark. You can treat this value area low as half of the range, right? This is pretty close. So in reality, you can just trade this range right here throughout the weekend, or this range right here, right? So right now, you could wait for price to come down, test here, enter a long, or wait for price to go to the top. If price does go higher, this is an untapped daily, which is very important, and it's at the point of control. So you can wait for price to go up, tap it, before coming back down. And you don't really have to wait for a swing failure. I mean, there is a high here, there's a little pivot, so you can wait for price to take any liquidity above this. It would be nice if price took liquidity above here too, but sometimes on initial reaction, price moves very quickly, so you might just get this to happen here like that. All right. What are we talking about? We're talking about AVAX here. go ahead and drop something in the chat if you want to see me chart something out here. But right now, as I said, you know, Bitcoin is looking pretty neutral at the moment, especially with this ETF, I believe is active. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe it is active. So yeah, I mean, the weekend, there's not too much volume going on, so picking your trades accordingly is pretty important. And you really just want to map out key levels, right? So key level, obviously, like I said before, we have the value area low. There is a daily open down here too as well. Price did respect it, came up, tapped the point of control, came back down, bounced off the value area low and the daily, and it's now just hanging out, right? Like I said, if you're looking to long AVAX, it's best to wait for price to come down, sweep these levels, reclaim these levels, shows a little bit sign of strength, change in market structure locally, and then you enter a long, and you can then possibly walk away with a nice 12% gain to the point of control, right? Now, if we lose these levels, the next area would obviously be this golden pocket down here, still again, where price did tap before. But since it tapped it once, it's not as strong, but it's still a pretty valid level. So you can even wait for price to come down even lower, sweep these lows again, reclaim, get strength, and then move a little bit higher. All right, so that's really it. And if that fails, then we're looking way lower, right? Let's just see if there's any weekly levels down here. There is a weekly here. It's kind of been tapped, but I'm sure it's still pretty important. So if I go here, blah, 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 weekly, just mark that out. But this area here, just in general, is a pretty important area for Avalanche, right? I mean, it's just important in general. As you can see, resistance, price broke above. I could even probably zoom in. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Right, so there we go. Clear resistance, 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 resistance. I mean, you could, if you want to, mark here more of the level, because you can see price tapped it almost exactly, back tested it almost exactly. Maybe set your alerts at this level if price fails, right? I mean, we trade things level by level, as you always should. And right now, I'm more concerned about this level right here. This little value area low, the point of control. If that fails, that's going to be my next long entry. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at something else. Drop a like, smash that like button for your boy. Also, just drop a coin in here. If you feel like, if you want me to chart something, just put it in the chat and I will definitely chart it. I mean, there's no one really in here. There's only 2 of you. So you put any coin in there, I'm going to go ahead and chart it. I don't mind. I have about 10 more minutes here and then I'm calling it. So anyway, let's go ahead and see what else we should chart here. I wonder if I should chart some meme coins. I probably should chart a meme coin. I did put it up there. Let's see. What do we have here? Should we see what Bonk is doing? Let's go ahead and see what Bonk is doing. I don't even think I have Bonk up here. Let's go ahead and see what Bonk is doing. USDT. Let's go to Bybit. This interesting project everyone's going crazy about. Whoa. This thing really did have a crazy move, didn't it? Wow. 20,000%. Like, what? What a move. That's a very interesting. Whoever got in on that trade, oh my. Good for them. Congratulations. Nothing there on the monthly, the weekly. We have a few important levels for Bonk. Weekly there. Let's go ahead and put a weekly here. All right, let's go ahead, look a little bit in more. There's a daily level here. Another one here, untapped. It's another daily lining up with the weekly below. Very important. And then already tapped, but you know, I'll just mark that there. So it's a tapped daily level. Not as important, but still important. And then now, we zoom on in. Let's go to the 4 hour here. This is actually a pretty important level too, right? So I'll mark this as the hourly. All right, and then let's go ahead and pull some fibs. Golden pocket lining up with that hourly level. This is just a key level. Now let's just see here. This seems more likely. Right? Look at the 50%. Price reacted there. Support failed it. Resistance, support failed it. Backtest as resistance, came down. Resistance, flipped it. And now it's just right above it, right? So this is actually a pretty valid channel for bonk. This is actually very, very valid. So you can trade this range. That's another rate for you to change. Another range for you to trade, right? Boom. Let's go ahead and just see what else is going on here. Just curious to see what's going on here. Nothing. No, I don't really like that trend line. And to be honest, it would have been broken through almost if you used that. Right, so price did respect it a little bit. It's now back above it, so maybe I'll just leave that there for now. Let's just see what's going on with this. Right, so it's pretty much above the 786. Very important level. As you can see, price tapped it here. Resistance, support. Not too bad, actually. It's looking more, let me see here. And the 1 hour is way overbought. But it's looking more bullish than bearish, because I only say that because it did have a pretty nice sell-off, right? 25%. It's clearly found a little bit of support here. It's trying to change market structure, which it pretty much did locally if you zoom in, right? So besides this low, now we have higher high, higher low, higher high. It's trying to make another higher low here. If so, then yeah, I mean, I could see bonk reacting at this level and just moving a little bit higher. And then I would target, obviously, let me just put the 382 on here. This is obviously resistance, support, resistance, resistance. So this could be a nice little take profit one right here, 6% away. If you were to long this, obviously you'd want to place your stops below that low right there. And if you, which is 5% away, you manage your position size. But yeah, you could target the highs, which is another 30% up. Not too bad. Not too bad. And if price does go lower, I mean, the next real interesting area to long bonk would just be at the lows, right? So you'd really want to wait for price to come down to these levels. You'd want to see lows get swept, reclaim here, reclaim the weekly and the daily. Very important. Reclaim both levels. Maybe a nice 4-hour close above this level, and then enter a long for price to move higher. So I'm actually gonna put a alert here because you have the low of the range, a little slight deviation. You have the weekly, a possible swing failure right here. Let's go ahead right here. And if we get all that to play out, that would be a very nice entry, I think, in my opinion. So for now, not really interested in a long. I just don't really like it too much. But if you want to be aggressive, then yeah, that's not a bad area to long. I'm gonna go ahead and add this. I'll just add the Bybit one. I know there is the perpetual. I guess not. I guess they don't. I thought there'd be a futures trading on Bybit. Yeah, right here. Wait, no, that's not it. No perpetual contracts. All right, whatever. Anyway. All right, so there it is. Just added it. But yeah, really just interested in that level. I don't think, was there a daily up here? I don't think there was a daily. No, but there is SFP here. And this is a clear range, but I'm really more interested in the long. The shorts, not really. There's nowhere I would really like. I mean, it could sweep this high, come back in. Yeah, the only short I'd really be interested in is if we see a move higher. Price comes, sweeps the liquidity of these highs, comes back down, back test, and then move lower. Then I'd be looking at entering a long right there. I mean a short, entering a short right there. And pretty much just aiming lower, right? So that's the setup. Sometimes it's good to just leave your trade ideas. Oh, what the heck? What just happened? Sometimes it's good to just leave your trade ideas on your chart. So if you do forget exactly what you're thinking about, you can always come back. Oh, shoot. Oh my gosh. You can always come back and see your trade idea and then see, if it's time to execute it. See exactly where you were targeting. Just like I said here, let me go ahead and delete this. Make this a little bit cleaner. Price could come down, sweep these lows. Reclaim this level. And move higher, right? So that's really the only two trade setups I would be interested in. I guess I could just put it here for now. I'd rather get an alert here. This is technically, I'd rather have the higher one, but I mean, in reality, this is just so you can get an alert. Did it set? All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Trend line, I'm gonna delete that. As you can see, there's an hourly down here, golden pocket down here. So this is a better area to even long, to be honest. You really want to see something like this. Actually, let me go ahead and delete this because the trade idea pretty much starts from up here. All right, but if you really want to, you can wait for your price to come down, sweep these lows, There's a bunch of lows here that's untested. So sweep these lows, not too far down, come back up, reclaim this hourly level. Move here, reclaim this 50%, and then target higher. All right, and then to be honest, even if you were to get in up here and not down here, you're still talking 27%. So still pretty good RR, right? But yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I'm about to end the live stream here. Thank you for joining, whoever joined. I did see a few people jump in here. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, there's a few ranges to trade. If I just go back and take a look here, bonk, we just went over that. We have Bitcoin, but let me just go back to this one here. Where is it? Maybe it was USD. Yeah. Bitcoin just range bound, right? So not really anywhere to trade unless you go a little bit more locally. I'm waiting for these lows to be swept or these highs to be swept. If you want to trade Bitcoin, like I said, see, look, you would have been in there earlier in the trade, almost securing your 1% move down, right? So just like that, boom. This is the range really to trade. That's somewhat interesting right now. Just trade this range. Price breaks down lower, aim lower. It's just that simple. Ethereum, it's like the same idea. Let me go to the Bybit chart. Same thing, right? Look at that. As I said, price came up, swept these highs. That is a trade signal. You could short it, and you can possibly target the daily open, which was below. It's not too far away, though. I mean, it's still 1%. You still 1% trade, but if you target the lows, you're talking 4%, right? And then we also have Avalanche, which we went over before. So Avalanche here, clearly trading in a bigger, slightly more complicated range, but it's not too bad. Your areas to really trade would be this little range here. You could want price to come down, sweep the lows before moving higher. You could get price to come down here, like I said before, sweep these lows, reclaim here as support before moving higher. Avalanche is a little bit more tricky because you really would feel more confident if price were to come down to these lows. Right now, the best trade is what happened before. There's a daily level, value area low. As you can see from the fixed range that was tapped. It did touch this level. I don't think it swept it though. Kind of just retested it. 314.35. The low was 34. So it really, like, you'd have to be a ninja trader to even think about getting into that, right? Look at that. You pretty much had no time to react. Unless you had a limit order here that got filled, then that was a perfect buy. But yeah, I mean, if you want, I would really rather see price come back down locally over the next few hours here. Sweep these lows, reclaim these levels, and aim for higher. Maybe aim for this daily level above, which is, if you get in here, you're talking 13% away, right? So it's really just about being patient. But thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you too, man. Be well. Appreciate it. Gonna try to be here again later tonight. I'm doing an afternoon live stream as well. I wasn't there last night. I'll be there tonight. I'll join in maybe around 9 p.m. I think I'm going to target 9 p.m., maybe 8 p.m. Just go to my Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I'm going to tell you when I'm live, like always. And check out my TradingView too as well. I got to post a lot more on TradingView. I love doing TradingView stuff, so very cool. I'm doing spot. I was curious when BTC is going higher. Bitcoin is just like in its own world right now. I don't really know. Like, as you can see, it looks like it wants to move lower, if anything, first, before moving higher. I don't really, if I was to go and just, let's just see here really quick, right? Let's just go to the chart, which I was on before. Bitcoin, I wouldn't really expect Bitcoin to move too much higher until a couple key levels are taken out. And those levels are, right around 40,000. So I wouldn't really expect a huge move up from Bitcoin until these levels are tapped. 40,000 is tapped. Once 40,000 is tapped, and only if this level, like exactly here, look what I put here, right? So only if this happens, I would be more confident in Bitcoin moving higher. If it comes down, sweeps these lows, comes back up, reclaims this area as support, right? Because then this would be a very important level, right? Just so you can see, then that would be a very important level. Liquidity is already grabbed. People will probably try to FOMO in, and then right here is when I would expect price to go higher. I don't really expect it to go higher from this level. It might come up just to fill the little gap for the CME, because right now the CME is stuck at 43,690, as you can see over here. Price is slowly below it. So usually, sometimes price likes to go close to that number on a Sunday just to, close the gap up. But yeah, I don't really see Bitcoin moving higher. Maybe not for a few days here. I think maybe like Tuesday, Wednesday, this level should be tapped if price starts to go down and then move higher. I don't really know though, but unless something like this happens, I wouldn't really expect Bitcoin to move higher. And if anything, maybe we go higher, touch this level. If we could reclaim this level, then yeah, if we start just hanging out above here, then I would expect Bitcoin to move higher too as well, because then it's pretty much accepted back above these levels, right? You have enough buyers coming in above these levels to then initiate a move higher. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. And thank you for joining, appreciate it, and until next time.